Hello and welcome once again everyone to another World of Warships video. I recently picked up a 3-day trial for the HMCS Haida from a Twitch container, and it has proved to be a ton of fun. I've included ship upgrades and captain skills I'm using at the end of the video, so let's jump straight into the highlights. This map is called Trident. It's standard battle mode. There is a CV on the enemy team, but the matchmaking is quite favourable, being top tier. This is just my second game in the Haida, but the playstyle is quite similar to that of the Tier VII British destroyer Jervis, in which I've played quite a few games, so I immediately feel comfortable in making more than just a first impression video. Spotting the enemy rocket planes, I quickly turn in to get in close proximity to my friendly Dallas to benefit from his AA guns. It's very common for CVs early game to rush forward to attempt to catch any destroyer pushing up, so always be prepared to combine AA defense to deter and defend against such attacks. One of Haida's great strengths is its surface detection range of only 5.7 kilometers, and by aircraft at 2.8 kilometers. The carrier has already scouted this area and seems to be pulling away, so I'm careful to keep outside that 2.8 kilometer range, and I feel safer in pushing up to continue spotting and attacking any targets of opportunity. Enemy Anshan is spotted. He instantly smokes up, and I open fire. He returns fire. He's slowing down. I do the same and turn away. Due to his smoke screen, I'm able to remain undetected. He did manage to set a fire on me there. I can instantly repair that because I am undetected. Put some torps on his smoke. He has pushed out. Open fire again. Set him on fire. Enemy Furataka is spotted on the opposite side of that island. Just going to push up and using this island as cover. My hydro range is 3.5 kilometers, so I spotted all those torps that from the Anshan on my friendly fleet members behind. Furataka is coming in close behind the island. I will have him permanently spotted by my hydro any moment. He's perma detected by my hydro. Just gonna wait for a moment here. Enemy Anshan is spotted again. He is pushing forward. I'm going to smoke up here. I managed to knock out his engine. There are planes now overhead also. I'm just going to start rolling forward here. It's a great advantage with this smoke screen, but you have to be careful not to move too quickly. Enemy Anshan now is within my hydro range, and he is not long for this earth. We take out the enemy Anshan quite easily. It seemed he was quite inexperienced in that position. He didn't even try to return fire on my smoke screen. He attempted to fight with his damage control and smoke on cooldown instead of kiting away, so he was left with very few options. The carrier is attempting to drop me in my smokes. I'm going to continue to keep moving here. It's very important to keep slowly moving in this smoke screen at all times, as it's of limited size and it's not difficult for players to guess your general location. The enemy carrier is making a concerted effort to torpedo my position. I can just continue moving and get some torps off on the enemy Furataka in the process. With only 4 torpedoes available every 90 seconds or so, Haida has to rely heavily on her guns. Okay, the Furataka goes down, and these guns are quite good. These 620mm cannons are quite reliable, and despite the fact I've only got a 10-point captain at the moment, I don't have the benefits of adrenaline rush or basic firing training for increased firing speed. They feel really strong and are capable of pumping out reliable damage numbers when called upon. Enemy rocket planes coming in. It's time for a hard turn to try and mess with his aim. He does pass overhead and go for the Koenig instead. Always try and focus your AA fire. I do realise it can be hard to multitask this at times, but it does pay dividends. It's not hard to surmise that the Haida is primarily a gunboat, so focus on firing those guns whenever possible. Using islands like this to fire undetected is an ideal way to put pressure on the enemy with very low risk of incoming return fire. I get a fire on the Algerie. Going to start reversing here. As long as this island breaks line of sight, I can continue to fire undetected. Algerie does have line of sight now, so I'm just going to maneuver forward, stop firing. He has repaired that fire. Does seem to be falling back. He is still taking fire from our right flank. Just briefly spotted there by those planes. Shot down another dive bomber. Just going to continue to push forward here. Everything is out of my effective gun range at the moment. The Algerie is retreating. He is focused on other targets, so I'm just going to put some fire on him as he's retreating. It can be quite difficult to land shells effectively at long range like this, but I'm shooting from cover. I am plane detected, but I've got decent island cover. Going to focus on eradicating these fighter planes that the CV has dropped to spot me. I'd like to be able to take some pressure off my only support on this flank, but my Koenig has taken up a very poor position, leaving himself very isolated. Put down some fire on this enemy Koenig. And my friendly Koenig on this flank goes down. So I'm left alone here now at the moment. Quickly smoke up. The Koenig has fired and continues to fire his guns, so he remains spotted due to the gun bloom penalty on his weapons. I can just continue to put fire on him relatively safely from this smoke screen. Trying to get a fire on his bow section. Keep moving forward here. Fires again. My torps are ready if he does show any kind of broadside, so I'm just going to persist in shelling him. He is quite low now. I'm going to persist in trying to get a fire on that bow section. That was actually on his midsection, which he's repaired. He continues to fire on my smoke screen, but he's been ineffective so far. Any fire I can get on this Koenig now will be permanent and probably finish him off. It's only a matter of time now. Trying to get hits onto his superstructure. We get a fire, and that finishes him off, despite my friendly ranger's best attempts to torp him right at the end. So it would seem the vast majority of the enemy fleet is still in the base on the right flank, where the majority of our team is pushing forward. Nothing of any real interest takes place for the next minute or so while I'm repositioning, so I'll just skip over some sailing footage. It's a war game after all. I've managed to close the distance, and I'm looking now for any slow moving targets that will be especially vulnerable to torpedo attack. The match is still very finely balanced, so I'm reluctant to draw too much attention to myself with only one smokescreen remaining. The Iron Duke is spotted, and he would appear to be stationary. I suspect he's either AFK or disconnected, and it doesn't get much easier than this. I am going to have to slow down here to avoid detection because I don't have enough room to get past this island. It's just going to come to a full stop here. Wait for these torpedoes on the Iron Duke. He's definitely AFK. It doesn't get much easier than this. Just wait for him to go down. Can push forward. And that's an easy kill as you can come across in this game. The game is still very finely balanced. We're only 75 points ahead. The Byron would seem to be my next target of choice. He is still sailing away from me, which makes any potential chance of landing a successful strike on him more difficult. I need him to turn in, and my carrier is sending in torpedo planes. He would appear to be making a turn inwards towards me. I'm just going to hold on here, just using the torp indicator to monitor his course and speed. Close the distance. I was ever so briefly plane spotted there. Drop a strike in front of him. It's much more difficult to land torpedoes with the Haida, having just 4. Normally you get 2 sets, which allows you to plan for any deviation in course and speed your target might make. It would appear now he's actually turned away ever so slightly. Going to smoke up and open fire. Might get one on him here. We do manage to get a fire, and we do manage to land one close to his stern. And that causes a flood which he's forced to repair. I could shoot armor piercing here, but due to the fact he's repaired, any fire I can set on him now potentially will finish him off, and there's the fire I needed. And he goes down. The enemy carrier is briefly spotted. Quickly open fire. The Rugo is turning away. Attempt to apply some damage for the short remainder of this smoke screen while the opportunity remains. It's one aspect I have noticed: you have to be quite careful while reversing using this smoke screen, because you will be spotted the vast majority of times, as the generator for some reason doesn't function as well as moving forward. Carrier manages to get undetected. We get the Confederate achievement. Algeria is spotted. Put some fire down here on him quickly. My smoke screen is just about to run out. Get another volley off. I'm just going to use the islands here to fall back and mask my position, and once again fire undetected. Algeria is quite low. Managed to get a fire. Just going to slow down here, I think, and use this island to remain undetected while continuing to fire. There's a second fire. This Algeria seems to be without damage control. And he goes down. The enemy Algeria is sent back to port, and we get the Kraken Unleashed achievement. I must admit it's still very early days, but I'm beginning to feel quite an affinity for this Haida. She feels very strong indeed. It's time to look for our next target. The enemy Leon is approaching our position. Can use this island to get into torpedo range. I have been playing this ship quite carefully so far, using the islands, making the best use of terrain for cover whenever possible. And now what I'm trying to do is quite risky. I don't have a smoke screen. I have been instantly plane spotted. I'll try and get off a torpedo drop on this enemy Leon. But I have overextended here. I'm going to instantly open fire while I am spotted. Enemy Leon. I've miscalculated my position now while maneuvering. Take some damage from the enemy carrier. My only torpedo tubes get temporarily disabled. Always a downside of only having one launcher. Enemy carrier has got me fully focused now. I'm going to have to maneuver to dodge these shells. Going to attempt to fall back here as quickly as possible. This is all a mistake of my own cavalier attitude to try and take out this enemy Leon. And now I'm in a situation where I'm perma-spotted and running for my life basically. Enemy Leon has a lot of guns and at this range is basically a shotgun. He manages to land a solid hit on me there of almost 5,000, and that has put me very low. I have managed to get undetected, so I'm going to revert to my original tactics, using that island cover, get off shots on target. See, once again I can fire undetected here. Enemy Leon is quite low, fortunately. Let's see if we can snag ourselves another kill here. Continue to put shells, hopefully get a fire on this Leon. He is very low. It's always quite difficult shooting Leon. It's got very little superstructure. And our Ranger manages to finish off the Leon. And we're down to a 3-on-2 situation. Our Dallas is in the enemy's cap, so he is slowing their points process. I'm going to just tuck in beside my carrier, as the enemy carrier is once again sending rocket planes my way. And to deny them any easy points, I'm going to make the best use of my carrier's anti-aircraft defenses. Just managed to get a hit on me, and that's the last significant action of this game. And the counter runs down moments later. Before going through the full ship build and captain skills, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've linked some more recent videos at the end, and until the next time, keep sailing it like you stole it. I always suggest using premium consumables to give yourself every advantage with the extra charges and decreased cooldown times. And in the Haida's case, in particular, the smoke generator is quite unique. It generates continuous smoke puffs for 90 seconds, with each smoke puff lasting 10 seconds, meaning you can keep moving at low speed to remain undetected, in a fashion similar to the Commonwealth cruiser Perth. Moving to the ship upgrades, I've gone for Main Armament Mod 1, Damage Control Mod 1, Aiming Systems Mod 1, and Propulsion Mod 2. Next to the captain skills, as you can see, I've not had the time to train up a full 19-point captain due to the 3-day trial period. I've chosen a standard starting setup with Preventive Maintenance, Last Stand, Survivability Expert, and Concealment Expert for the first 10 points. From there, based on my limited time with the ship, my gut tells me basic firing training, adrenaline rush, then superintendent, with priority target to make up the full 19-point captain. Let's take a quick look at what this complete build means for the final ship stats. For survivability, we get a very competitive 18,150 hit points for Tier 7. Main artillery consists of 3 dual-mounted 120mm turrets with a max range of 12.3 kilometers and a base reload speed of 5 seconds, decreased to 4.5 seconds with the basic firing training skill. Haida gets a 1x4 torpedo launcher with 8 kilometers of range and a torp speed of 62 knots with a reload speed of 96 seconds. Haida gets an AA defense rating of 20, not bad at all, with short, medium and long range bursts out as far as 5.8 kilometers. Haida has a max base speed of 36.5 knots, a turning circle of 630 meters, and a rudder shift time of 3.8 seconds. And finally, a concealment rating of 97, which is one of Haida's great strengths. You'll be surface detected at 5.7 kilometers and by aircraft at 2.8 kilometers.